Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the English Echo.
We're very happy you're here today.
Today, we're going to practice English together in a simple and relaxing way.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Sophia.
We're happy you're here today.
Let's learn together. Imagine just looking at a photo of yourself from like 5 years ago on a completely random Tuesday. You aren't doing anything special at all.
Right, just a normal day.
Exactly. You aren't at a wedding, you aren't graduating, no major milestones. But looking at it now, you strangely miss that version of yourself.
Yeah, that happens so often.
And you have to wonder, why does it take half a decade to realize you were actually doing fine? I mean, in that exact moment 5 years ago, you were probably stressing about like whether your hair looked weird or if you said the wrong thing in a meeting.
Oh, or worrying about what the people around you were thinking.
Yeah.
It's just this universal trap, honestly.
It really is.
We spend so much of our present moment just managing this agonizing perception of how we appear to everyone else. And it completely robs us of simply existing.
Yeah, and time just strips away that immediate anxiety, which I guess is why the photo looks so peaceful now. And our mission today is to deconstruct this invisible audience that you carry around in your head.
Which we all do, by the way.
Totally. So we are going to look at the biology of why we care so much and why we surrender our actual identities to people-pleasing, plus how to build a quieter, more resilient kind of self-trust.
And if you have ever delayed a decision because you were terrified of the judgment of others, I mean, this deep dive is really your shortcut to mental freedom.
Yeah, for sure. So to really understand this invisible audience, I think we have to look at this highly relatable scenario from the material.
Oh, the shopping mall trip.
Yes, the shopping mall. Picture walking through a crowded mall, bright lights, hundreds of people around, loud echoes, and suddenly you trip.
The absolute worst feeling.
Right. And not a catastrophic fall, just a clumsy, sudden loss of balance. You stumble. Immediately, your face gets hot.
Your heart rate spikes.
Yes. And the thought screaming in your mind is, oh my gosh, everyone saw that. You literally feel the collective stare of 50 strangers burning into your back.
But, and this is the kicker, when the person in this scenario actually looks around after that initial flush of embarrassment, a totally different reality sets in.
Yeah, nobody is looking.
Nobody. One person is texting, another is wrangling a toddler, a group of teenagers is just laughing at a phone. I mean, absolutely no one is analyzing her momentary loss of balance.
It's sort of like leaving your smartphone flashlight on in your pocket.
Oh, I like that.
You walk into a room thinking you're blinding everyone, projecting this massive, embarrassing spotlight, but everyone else is just staring down at their own screens. You're burning your own battery for absolutely nothing.
That flashlight metaphor perfectly captures the illusion. I mean, the invisible audience is a psychological phenomenon where we feel as though we're constantly on a brightly lit stage.
Right, like we're the star performer.
Exactly. Being evaluated and criticized.
Yeah.
But the profound irony, and the source points this out beautifully, is that almost everyone in the room is agonizing over being judged themselves.
So the audience is basically empty because everyone is backstage stressing out.
Yep. They are far too busy worrying about their own flashlight to notice yours.
Okay, but if logically we know that everyone is wrapped up in their own lives, why is that spotlight in our heads so incredibly intense? Like, why does a simple stumble in a mall trigger a literal physical heat response in the body?
Well, we have to look at the underlying biology to understand that. I mean, this isn't just a character flaw or a lack of confidence.
Right.
It's evolutionary wiring.
Yeah.
Our brains were equipped with an amygdala, which acts as our emotional threat detection center.
The lizard brain, basically.
Exactly. For our ancient ancestors, being rejected by the tribe meant you were cast out into the wilderness alone. Social rejection literally meant physical death.
Wow. So the brain actually evolved to process social disapproval with the same alarm bells as a physical predator.
Yes, exactly. Functional MRI scans actually show that the brain processes social rejection in the exact same neural pathways that it processes physical pain.
That is wild.
But here's the problem, right? We have a brain wired for a small tribe of maybe 50 people, and we are trying to operate it in a modern world with thousands of daily interactions.
Including social media, which just amplifies it.
Oh, massively. Our internal radar is completely overwhelmed by a modern environment it just wasn't built for. So we project our ancient survival anxiety outward onto an empty mall.
So if our brains are hardwired to view social approval as literal survival, what happens when we let that ancient mechanism drive our modern lives?
Well, that brings us to the hidden cost of performing for an empty room.
Yeah, and there is a really poignant story in our material about a man who developed two versions of himself over time.
Right, the concept of the split self.
Yeah. Version 1 was his socially curated identity. He was the agreeable guy, polite, easygoing, the person everyone liked because he just never caused any friction.
Sure, the peacekeeper.
Exactly. But version 2 was his authentic self, kind of hiding beneath the surface. And this version had completely different ambitions, unpopular opinions, different tastes.
And over years of prioritizing version 1, the gap between who he pretended to be and who he actually was grew so wide.
He suffered a total loss of identity, right? He didn't even recognize his own life anymore.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates how the desire for belonging, when you leave it unchecked, slowly morphs into self-abandonment.
Wow.
We think we're just being polite, but we are actually erasing ourselves.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Sure, go for it.
Taking off the mask sounds great in theory, but practically speaking, we don't just exist in a park with strangers. We live in hierarchies,
It's true.
If I completely ignore my boss's expectations, or if I stop being agreeable with my clients, I could literally lose my job. As the source says, everyone enjoys being accepted. So how does this apply to real life where people actually hold tangible power over you?
That is a crucial distinction to make. Adapting your behavior to function professionally in a hierarchy is a tactical choice.
Okay.
You're choosing to be diplomatic to achieve a goal. It becomes dangerous and leads to that split self. When approval shifts from being a tactical tool, or like a nice bonus, to a strict psychological requirement for your well-being.
Meaning you no longer know how to function unless someone is validating you.
Yes. When you need internal permission from an external source before you can speak honestly.
Oh, man.
When you find yourself saying yes, when your internal voice is screaming no, not because it's a strategic professional move, but because the thought of someone being temporarily disappointed in you triggers that amygdala survival panic.
Right. You're treating a disappointed boss like a lion in the bushes.
Exactly. And when your baseline happiness depends entirely on the unpredictable opinions of others, you have basically handed over the steering wheel of your life.
And you're handing it over to a crowd of people who aren't even paying attention in the first place. And if we depend on other people's opinions to validate our choices, we are basically playing a rigged game, right? Universal approval is mathematically impossible.
It is. And understanding the mechanics of why it's impossible is just incredibly liberating. I mean, people do not judge you from a neutral, objective standpoint.
Right.
They don't have an impartial scoreboard. They evaluate you entirely through the lens of their own experiences, their own fears, and their own unmet expectations.
It's like everyone is walking around wearing their own customized pair of tinted glasses.
Oh, yeah.
If I am wearing thick blue tinted lenses and I look at your career choices and tell you, wow, your life looks really blue and chaotic, it doesn't mean your life is actually blue.
Right. It just means you can't take off your own filter.
Exactly.
And if you exhaust yourself trying to change your life to look pleasing to the person wearing the blue lenses, you are instantly going to upset the person standing next to them wearing red lenses.
Because you can't please both.
You cannot win.
Yeah.
Because you cannot reach over and pull the glasses off their face.
But wait, how do we differentiate between someone's tinted projection and actual valuable feedback? Because if someone says my work is sloppy, they might just be right.
Sure. You have to look at the emotional charge behind the judgment. Constructive feedback is usually specific, actionable, and delivered with the intent of helping you improve a skill.
Okay, that makes sense.
Projection, on the other hand, is heavily emotionally charged. It's often sweeping and usually attacks your identity or your audacity to even try something.
Oh, wow.
When someone harshly criticizes a risk you are taking, it frequently reveals their own suppressed desire to take a risk or their own deep-seated fear of failure.
So criticism of your path often says far more about the critic's internal boundaries than it does about your actual choices.
Precisely.
Knowing they are wearing tinted glasses is a huge paradigm shift, but realizing people aren't objectively evaluating you is really only half the battle.
How so?
Because even if you logically know that, the physical fear of judgment still completely paralyzes actual everyday life choices. Like, look at the story of the friend with the good job from the source.
Ah, yes, a very common modern dilemma.
Right. A job that looks perfect on paper, commands respect from society, but slowly drains the person actually doing it.
Yeah.
She spent an entire year just agonizing over whether to leave this stable, respectable job. And instead of looking inward, she became this compulsive opinion collector.
Yes.
She asked one mentor who told her to stay for the resume. She asked a peer who told her to quit and travel. Another told her to wait for a promotion.
And she gathered so many conflicting viewpoints that she froze entirely.
Exactly. The gut-wrenching realization she finally arrived at was, and I quote, "I've listened to so many voices that I can't hear my own anymore."
That single sentence captures the exact moment when seeking advice crosses over into seeking a guarantee.
Oh, wow. Say more about that.
Well, we frame it as doing our due diligence, right? We think we are just gathering data to make the smart choice. But what the brain is actually doing is looking for someone else to underwrite the risk.
You want a safety net.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want someone else to guarantee that we won't fail so we don't have to carry the emotional weight of the decision ourselves.
And doing that systematically destroys our own self-trust. I mean, we hold on to this massive illusion about what confidence actually is.
We really do.
We imagine confident people standing at a crossroads, looking down the paths, and possessing some magical psychic certainty about which path guarantees success. So we wait to feel that certainty before we move.
But life rarely offers perfect certainty. True confidence is not the absence of fear or having all the answers.
Right.
True confidence is simply the willingness to make a decision without a guarantee and trusting in your own adaptability. It's the belief that even if the path gets rocky, you have the internal resources to figure it out along the way.
I want to dig into the mechanics of that because the material reframes self-trust as a muscle. And you don't build muscle by sitting on the couch reading books about weightlifting.
Definitely not.
You build it by creating micro tears in the tissue under heavy loads and letting it repair stronger. How does that translate to the brain when we finally make a decision despite the invisible audience?
It comes down to the physiology of a bad decision. When you are paralyzed by the fear of judgment, your brain maps avoidance as the thing that kept you safe.
Oh, interesting.
But when you make a choice and it fails, or someone criticizes it, something miraculous happens if you allow it to. Your brain maps the survival of that failure as brand new data. It literally rewrites your internal risk assessment algorithms.
Wait, so by surviving the embarrassment or the misstep, you are giving your nervous system empirical proof that social disapproval isn't actually a lethal threat anymore.
Yes. You acquire historical data on your own resilience. You learn that a misstep is just a misstep. It's not the end of your identity.
Right.
You shift the internal question from the paralyzing, what if I fail and everyone judges me, to the highly practical, if I fail, can I handle it?
And for the vast majority of people, you already have the answer. I mean, you have survived 100% of your bad days and difficult choices up to this exact second.
Exactly.
Recognizing that track record is how you start to tune out the noise. So if confidence is a muscle we build through acquiring historical data of our own resilience, and we know everyone is projecting their own tinted lenses onto us, where does that ultimately leave us? Like, how do we find actual freedom?
It leaves us with the stark boundaries of our own control. The fundamental rule from the text is this. You have total control over your actions, your attitude, and your decisions. You have absolutely zero control over what other people think about those actions.
Man, we waste a staggering amount of energy trying to violate that rule.
Constantly.
We twist ourselves into mental pretzels, curating our words, our outfits, our social media posts, thinking we can hack the system. We think if we just explain our choices perfectly, we can completely neutralize any criticism.
It is a futile effort because the game is entirely rigged. No matter what decision you make, someone's tinted lenses will find a flaw in it.
Right.
If you take a massive career risk, a segment of your network will call you reckless, foolish, and irresponsible.
But if you decide to stay in your safe, comfortable corporate job, another segment of your network will call you fearful, complacent, and lacking ambition. You literally can't win.
If you show deep emotion, you're deemed unstable. If you remain stoic, you're cold.
Yeah.
The identical decision can be praised as visionary by one colleague and condemned as naive by another. Trying to curate an image that successfully passes through every single person's unique filter is physically impossible.
So the only winning move is recognizing that audience management is just a tragic misallocation of your finite energy. There's this vivid scene described in the source that really brings us all down to earth. Imagine sitting on a bench in a busy city park. Hundreds of people are walking past you. You see different styles, different ages, people in suits, people in sweatpants.
Right. And as you observe them, the realization hits. Every single one of those individuals is locked inside a fiercely complex narrative.
Yeah.
They're consumed by a fight with their partner, or financial stress, or a lingering health issue, or a dream they're trying to chase.
They simply do not have the bandwidth to obsess over you. I mean, even if they happen to glance over and silently judge the shoes you're wearing or the way you laugh, that thought is going to evaporate from their consciousness the millisecond their phone buzzes.
Or they remember they need to buy milk on the way home.
Right. To build your entire life around avoiding the 3-second evaporating judgments of strangers is just heartbreaking.
Which brings us to the ultimate definition of mental freedom. True freedom is not reaching some magical mountaintop destination where nobody ever judges you again. Because as long as humans exist, opinions will exist.
So we basically can't silence the audience.
No. But you can develop what the material calls quiet confidence.
I love that phrase.
It's so good. It is the profound internalized permission you give other people to have their opinions, while granting yourself the absolute right to completely ignore them. It is allowing people the freedom to misunderstand you, without letting their misunderstanding dictate a single step of your path.
You stop performing. You stop over-explaining your choices. You stop seeking a consensus before you make a move. And when you drop the exhausting luggage of audience management, you create massive space in your life.
Yes. Space to experiment, space to fail.
Space to make your own magnificent mistakes and actually learn from them.
You reclaim the cognitive load you were spending on an imaginary crowd, and you redirect it into actual, authentic living.
That is just so powerful. I want to speak directly to you listening right now. Take a mental inventory of the week ahead of you. What is one specific thing you would do differently this week if you genuinely worried a little less about the invisible audience?
Oh, that's a great question.
Would you finally send that boundary-setting email? Would you wear the outfit that feels like you instead of the one that just blends in? Would you start that creative project you've been hiding?
And as you map out what that action looks like, I want to leave you with a different angle to ponder. We spent a lot of time today exploring how other people's criticisms are simply projections of their own fears through tinted lenses.
Right.
But that psychological mirror faces both ways. The next time you find yourself quickly and harshly judging a stranger, an acquaintance, or a friend, force yourself to pause.
Oh, turn it around.
Exactly. What is that sudden critical judgment secretly revealing about your own hidden fears, your own insecurities, or your own unmet expectations?
That is a mirror that can be deeply uncomfortable to look into, but it is the ultimate tool for dismantling the invisible audience from the inside out. Take a snapshot of your mind right now. Let this perspective shift settle in. Let people wear their blue lenses. Stop trying to perform for an empty room and start flexing the muscle of your own self-trust. We will see you next time. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.